السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. صبحكم الله بالخير جميعا. احنا نعرف انه مبكرين عليكم شوي بالوقت، مبكرين عليكم، نقطعكم عن اشغالكم عن مهامكم، لكن كلنا نسعى لما فيه خدمة هذا البلد، كلنا نسعى للتميز. ومن التميز انه اجتمعنا كلنا في هذه القاعة المباركة، يعني نستأنف أعمال الأمس والاحتفال اللي بدأنا فيه بالأمس، نحاول نستأنفه بضيوفنا، بالجلسات النقاشية والمتحدثين اللي راح يثروننا بالمعلومات. أهلا وسهلا فيكم. نتمنى اللي تقهوى روق، واللي ما تقهوى موجود القهوة، لأن ورانا جلسات ورانا نقاش، نبغى صبركم بس معنا. طيب، في البداية عندنا فيديو تعريفي عرضناه بالأمس، ونحاول أنه نستذكر وياكم اليوم أبرز النقاط اللي ركزنا عليها في هذا الفيديو. خلونا نشوفها أول وبعدها نستكمل فقراتنا.
في عصر تتنامى فيه الفرص وتتسارع فيه الخطى نحو تحول شامل لتحقيق الاستدامة ورفع مستوى الأداء، ينطلق مؤتمر التميز التشغيلي أوبكس ليفتح آفاقاً جديدة لمستقبل القطاعات الفنية والتنفيذية بالمملكة. يهدف المؤتمر إلى تحقيق الاستدامة المالية وتميز الأداء عبر تسريع التحول الرقمي انطلاقاً من رؤية المملكة 2030، وتمكيناً للإبداع والابتكار في القطاعات الخدمية الصناعية. أوبكس السعودية هو فرصة للتعرف على المنهجيات التميز التشغيلي الحديثة واستعراض التجارب الناجحة من خلال الالتقاء بالرواد المحليين والدوليين لخلق نماذج عمل وطنية للجودة والتميز التنظيمي بأسلوب قائم على المعرفة يضمن التوافق مع أفضل الممارسات العالمية والملائمة للثقافة المحلية. يتناول المؤتمر أبرز مفاهيم التميز التشغيلي لضمان مستقبل المنشآت عن طريق دعم الابتكارات الجديدة، تعزيز الإدارة بالكفاءة والتكيف مع التغيرات، تنمية القدرات المؤسسية، والاستفادة من النجاحات السابقة في تقديم قيمة إضافية للعملاء. في أوبكس السعودية نقدم أفضل الممارسات المحلية والدولية في التميز التشغيلي من خلال جلسات متنوعة، حلقات نقاش وورش تدريبية تتناول البحث والابتكار. الذكاء الصناعي والثورة الصناعية الرابعة، القيادة وتنفيذ الاستراتيجية، البعد الاقتصادي، مع استعراض أبرز تجارب قطاع الاتصالات ومنشآت الطاقة والمنشآت المنتجة للمياه في التميز التشغيلي لعملياتها. يهدف المؤتمر إلى وضع معايير تؤدي إلى سرعة تنفيذ العمليات من خلال زيادة الدخل وتسريع تحديد الوقت المناسب للتسويق مع تقليل فترة تجهيز المنتجات، وهو ما سيساهم في زيادة إنتاجية المنشأة ويعزز من أرباحها وأدائها المالي، مما يحقق رضا العملاء ويرفع تفاعل الموظفين ويزيد استدامة المنشأة. في أوبكس السعودية ستكون للشركات مساحة جديدة لتوسيع شبكتها المهنية أو مشاركة العلامة التجارية مع صناع القرار أو اقتناص فرصة استثمارية جديدة. هنا حيث نسابق المستقبل ونصنع التغيير.
إذا كنا نحكي عن التميز التشغيلي فإحنا محظوظين لأنه عندنا برنامج للتحول الوطني، وعندنا أيضاً سعي حثيث نحو كفاءة الإنفاق، وكلهم يصبون في مجال معين وهو التميز التشغيلي اللي أساس اجتماعنا وتواجدنا اليوم. عندنا متحدثين وعندنا فقرات وعندنا نقاط، خلونا ناخذ لمحة سريعة عنها لأبرز ما سيكون في تاريخ 28 اللي هو اليوم وتاريخ 29. من الخبرات والكفاءات اللي موجودة معنا في هذه القاعة نحاول نختار الأبرز. عندنا خبرات واسعة، واحد منهم أو أحدهم يمتلك خبرة واسعة وممتدة لأكثر من 19 عاماً في القطاعين الخاص والعام، وبدأ مسيرته المهنية في شركة أرامكو السعودية، كان فيها لمدة 15 عاماً، أدار خلالها طبعاً العديد من المشاريع الحيوية والمهمة اللي أهلته بعد ذلك إلى أنه يصبح مدير تنفيذي في مركز الإنجاز والتدخل السريع لمدة عامين، وبعدها عين رئيس تنفيذي لبرنامج التحول الوطني، ومن ثم عين عضو في مجلس إدارة الشركة الوطنية لخدمات التسجيل العيني والعقار المملوكة لمين؟ المملوكة لصندوق الاستثمارات العامة ومجلس إدارة الاتحاد السعودي للسباحة أيضا. ويحمل المهندس اللي احنا بصدد استضافته يحمل شهادتي بكالوريوس وماجستير في هندسة كهربائية من الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، وأتم أيضا العديد من البرامج القيادية في جامعتي ستانفورد وأنسياد. رحبوا معنا بالمهندس ثامر السعدون.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة والحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسعدني أن أرحب بكم جميعاً في اليوم الثاني من مؤتمر التميز التشغيلي التي تنظمه مشكورة المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة، ويجمع نخبة من المختصين من مختلف بلدان العالم لنتبادل الخبرات المعرفية وتجويد الممارسات التشغيلية في المنشآت الصناعية والخدمية، ومناقشة أبرز التجارب الناجحة في تحقيق التميز التشغيلي، ذلك النهج الذي يقوم على التحسين المستمر وبناء ثقافة تحث على التميز في مختلف المجالات. ولا يخفى عليكم أن بلادنا المملكة العربية السعودية تمر بمرحلة تحول شاملة انطلقت من رؤية المملكة المباركة رؤية 2030. تلك الرؤية التي تسعى فيها المملكة إلى بناء مجتمع حيوي واقتصاد مزدهر ووطن طموح، ومما لا شك فيه أن تحقيق التميز التشغيلي على مستوى جهات القطاع العام والخاص وغير الربحي يساهم في تحقيق التنمية الاقتصادية الشاملة ورفع مستوى الخدمات وجودتها، مما يدعم بشكل مباشر أهداف رؤية المملكة 2030. وبرنامج التحول الوطني هو أحد المحركات الرئيسية لرؤية المملكة 2030، فهو أول برامجها التنفيذية التي أطلق في عام 2016، وهو القائم على أكثر من 35% من أهدافها الاستراتيجية. تلك الأهداف التي تسعى إلى تطوير البنية التحتية اللازمة وتهيئة البيئة الممكنة للقطاع العام والخاص وغير الربحي من تحقيق أهداف الرؤية. ويعمل البرنامج مع العديد من الوزارات والهيئات والجهات المتنوعة لتعزيز التكامل وتحقيق الأهداف الوطنية المشتركة. وسأسلط الضوء على أبرز مواطن التميز التشغيلي من خلال مبادرات برنامج التحول الوطني في عدد من الجهات. وعلى سبيل المثال في قطاع الاتصالات وتقنية المعلومات، يعمل البرنامج على تحفيز وتبني الابتكار الرقمي من خلال دعم الرياديين والشركات المحلية الرقمية، بالإضافة إلى إطلاق أنظمة وتطبيقات ذكية مشتركة للتعاملات الحكومية تساهم في رفع مستوى التشاركية والوصول للمعلومة الحكومية للمستفيدين من الخدمات الحكومية من أجل تحقيق التكامل ورفع كفاءة العمل بين مختلف الجهات، مثل نظام تشغيل وصيانة أنظمة الموارد المشتركة، والعمل على تحديد المعوقات وطرح الحلول الداعمة لجذب الشركات العالمية وتعزيز الشراكة مع القطاع الخاص، بما يسهم بشكل مباشر في زيادة المحتوى المحلي وتوطين التقنيات. ومن أبرز قصص النجاح التي تروى في برنامج التحول الوطني هي قصة المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة، التي استطاعت الوصول إلى الريادة عالمياً في مجالها، إضافة إلى كونها تلعب دوراً أساسياً في توفير الأمن المائي في المملكة، إذ حملت المؤسسة على عاتقها استدامة المياه بأعلى مستويات الموثوقية والكفاءة، وعملت على تسخير التقنيات الحديثة لحل المعادلة الصعبة المتمثلة في زيادة الإنتاج وتقليل التكلفة واستهلاك الطاقة بأرقام قياسية وتقدم غير مسبوق، إذ تملك المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة أعلى طاقة إنتاجية للمياه المحلاة عالمياً، إضافة إلى تسجيلها أقل قيمة في استهلاك الطاقة لتحلية المياه. ومن الجدير بالذكر أن تلك الأرقام التي سجلتها المؤسسة على مستويات الإنتاج جاءت مصحوبة بشهادات معتمدة وجوائز عالمية في مجالات أخرى، بما في ذلك التميز التشغيلي والبحث والابتكار والاستدامة البيئية والسلامة والصحة المهنية واتباع نهج الاستدامة المالية ورفع كفاءة العمليات وغيرها من النجاحات الكبرى التي تجعلها تستحق بكل جدارة أن تكون نموذجاً عالمياً وتجربة تروى وتنقل في تحقيق التنمية المستدامة. وقد عمل برنامج التحول الوطني مع المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة على تحقيق الاستفادة المستدامة من الموارد المائية من خلال عدد من المبادرات، من ضمنها مبادرة زيادة الكفاءة والأداء. هذه المبادرة تهدف إلى تنفيذ منظومة من البرامج الاستراتيجية لتطوير وتمكين قدرات المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه وتحسين مستويات التحكم والمراقبة في مشاريعها لتغطية الاحتياج المائي بكفاءة وفاعلية، ورفع الكفاءة التشغيلية والرأسمالية للمؤسسة عن طريق مبادرات تعنى بزيادة التميز المؤسسي ورفع فاعلية الأداء داخل المؤسسة. وقد أثمرت تلك الجهود بتحقيق عدد من الإنجازات الكبرى، كحصول المؤسسة على جائزة أفضل شركة مياه لعام 2021 من منظمة معلومات المياه العالمية، وحصولها على شهادة الاعتراف بالتميز المؤسسي من المنظمة الأوروبية لإدارة الجودة. وفي خطوة جديرة بالشكر وبناء على خبراتها وتجاربها الثرية، تنظم المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة مؤتمر التميز التشغيلي في دورته الأولى، وتجمع الخبراء والمهتمين تحت سقف واحد، ساعياً لتحقيق نموذج ناجح للتميز التشغيلي وتحقيق الريادة في هذا المجال. فأسأل الله جل وعلا أن يبارك في لقائنا هذا وأن يحقق لنا غاياتنا المنشودة. وأكرر شكري وتقديري لكم أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الآن احنا بصدد استضافة مهندس شغل منصب الرئيس التنفيذي لهيئة كفاءة الإنفاق والمشروعات الحكومية إكسبرو منذ عام 2021، ويتمتع بخبرة واسعة في بناء المؤسسات، ويمتلك خبرة أيضاً في تعزيز أدائها، إضافة إلى إبداعه في تطوير الاستراتيجيات وفي تنفيذها، وتعزيز الثقافة التنظيمية، وتبني إدارة التغيير الفعالة تماشياً مع أفضل الممارسات الدولية. هو عضو في مجلس إدارة هيئة المحتوى المحلي والمشتريات الحكومية، وفي الشركة الوطنية أيضاً لخدمات كفاءة الطاقة ترشيد. رحبوا معي بالرئيس التنفيذي لهيئة كفاءة الإنفاق والمشروعات الحكومية المهندس عبدالرزاق صبحي العوجان.
بسم الله، الحمد لله، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. صبحكم الله بالخير جميعاً. عادة أجد صعوبة في الببليك سبيكينج، لكن أشكر معاليك لهذه الدعوة. حاولت جاهداً أن أحضر، حاولت جاهداً أن أحضر لهذه المناسبة، وأتمنى من الله سبحانه وتعالى التوفيق والسداد. يسعدني هذا اليوم أن أكون ضمن نخبة من القياديين والخبراء والكفاءات الشابة من كل المجالات، لنتبادل الخبرات ونتطلع على أحدث التجارب المتعلقة بتطبيقات التميز التشغيلي في مجالات الأعمال في بلادنا الغالية. نطمح كما تطمح قيادتنا الرشيدة أن نصبح نموذجاً ناجحاً ورائداً على كافة العالم، على كافة الأصعدة. وأعتقد اليوم لن نجد دعوة للتميز التشغيلي كما جاء في الرسالة. أن نصبح نموذجاً ناجحاً ورائداً على العالم في كافة الأصعدة هي دعوة للتحسين والتطوير المستمر، وأن لا نكتفي بنجاحات اليوم، ونتطلع لمزيد من الإنجاز ومزيد من الأثر خدمة للبلاد والعباد. ورغم حداثة مفاهيم التميز التشغيلي عالمياً وليس محلياً فقط، إلا أنني وبحكم تجربتي المتنوعة شهدت تفوق مؤسساتنا وأبنائنا في ترجمة المفاهيم والنظريات إلى تجارب محلية حية في عالم إدارة الأعمال والمشاريع والمرافق والمصانع وكافة القطاعات الحيوية. هذا التميز يستلهم رؤية القيادة الحكيمة ممثلة بخادم الحرمين الشريفين حفظه الله وولي عهده الأمين، والتي رسمت خارطة الطريق إلى مستقبل المملكة المزدهر، وحفزت الروح الإيجابية الباحثة عن التميز والتحسين المستمر، وأن نتفوق كل يوم على أنفسنا بالأمس، فطموحنا عنان السماء. وكان مما شهدته خلال الأعوام الماضية ومنذ انطلاق رؤية 2030 الارتفاع الملموس لفاعلية كفاءة الخدمات والمشاريع الحكومية، وتركيزها المتزايد على تخطيط متوسط وبعيد المدى، واعتمادها على أفضل المنهجيات العالمية في مجال الإدارة والتشغيل وقياس الأثر وبناء القدرات واتخاذ القرار بناء على البيانات. وقد انعكس هذا بفضل الله على رفع كفاءة استغلال الموارد الحكومية والمادية والطبيعية لتعود بأعظم الفوائد وأكثرها استدامة على هذا الوطن الكريم وأبنائه في الحاضر والمستقبل. واسمحوا لي أن أستغل هذه الفرصة لأشارككم جانباً هاماً من تجربة القطاع الحكومي في هذا المجال، وتتمثل في التميز التشغيلي في رفع كفاءة التشغيل والإنفاق في المشروعات الحكومية. يمكنني أن ألخص مفهوم كفاءة الإنفاق كما عرفها خادم الحرمين الشريفين، ولا أجد تعريف أفضل من ذلك، فهو زيادة الأثر المتحقق مقابل الإنفاق. وانطلاقاً من هذا التعريف الذي يركز على قياس الأثر، حددت هيئة كفاءة الإنفاق والمشروعات الحكومية رؤيتها بأنها إنفاق ذو أثر لاقتصاد مستدام ومزدهر، ورسالة تحقيق كفاءة الإنفاق الحكومي والارتقاء بجودة المشروعات الحكومية من التخطيط إلى التشغيل من خلال وضع السياسات والاستراتيجيات وتمكين الجهات العامة بحلول مستدامة وخلق أثر إيجابي بما يساهم في تحقيق المستهدفات الوطنية. وتقوم هذه الرؤية على ركيزتين أساسية، هما أولاً تعظيم الأثر المتحقق مما تنفقه الحكومة، ثانياً استدامة هذا الأثر على المدى الطويل. وقد ترجمنا هذه الرؤية إلى 7 أهداف تتكامل جميعها لتحقيق التميز التشغيلي في مختلف جوانب الإنفاق الحكومي، ومنها هدفين خاصين بالمشروعات الحكومية. الهدف الثالث الارتقاء بكفاءة تخطيط وتنفيذ مشاريع البنية التحتية. الهدف الرابع الارتقاء بكفاءة تخطيط والتشغيل وصيانة الأصول والمرافق. ولنتمكن من تحقيق هذه الأهداف، قامت الجهات الحكومية في المملكة بعمل مشترك واسع النطاق لتطبيق منهجيات واضحة تكفل رفع جودة تخطيط وإدارة المشاريع والأصول والمرافق الحكومية. وكان لنا الفخر في هيئة كفاءة الإنفاق والمشروعات الحكومية أن نساند هذه الجهود من خلال تنفيذ دراسة حالة المشاريع الحكومية وجمع وتحليل البيانات ووضع الأسس المنهجية التي تضمن رفع جودة المشاريع الحكومية واستدامتها بناء على أفضل الممارسات المحلية والعالمية. ومن أول أسس هذه المنهجية هي البوابات المرحلية، وهي بمثابة خارطة طريق تحدد بدقة مراحل إدارة المشروع ومتطلبات كل مرحلة، من مراحل التخطيط حتى تسليم المشروع ثم تشغيله وصيانته ليكون مستداما خدمة للمواطنين وخدمة للأهداف المنشودة. وترتبط هذه البوابات المرحلية بالأدلة الوطنية، الدليل الوطني لإدارة المشاريع والدليل الوطني لإدارة الأصول والمرافق، وهي أدلة شاملة تغطي فصولها أدق التفاصيل والمتطلبات لكل مرحلة من مراحل إدارة المشاريع والأصول والمرافق، ويهدف جمع وتحليل البيانات. أنشأنا منصة المشروعات الوطنية وحرصنا على ربطها بالعديد من المنصات الوطنية بهدف تحسين تجربة المستخدم ومشاركة ومواءمة المعلومات حول سير المشاريع الحكومية وحالتها. وبجهود شركائنا في الجهات الحكومية وحرصهم على تحديث البيانات، أصبحت هذه المنصة اليوم تضم أكثر من 10,000 مشروع حكومي، ويمكن لكل جهة متابعة سير مشاريعها، وتقدم المنصة الدعم لاتخاذ القرار وتقدم المنصة الدعم لأصحاب القرار وتزودهم بالمعلومات اللازمة وتحليلها، بالإضافة إلى عملنا على مساندة الجهات الحكومية في جهودها لتخطيط المحافظ الخمسية، وذلك بتسكين فرق العمل المقيمة في الجهات لدعمها في تطبيق أفضل الممارسات في إدارة المشاريع والأصول والمرافق. كما عملت الهيئة مع الجهات الحكومية بناء على مخرجات اللجنة الوطنية لتقنين أعمال التشغيل والصيانة وتقييسها، فحددنا الممارسات التشغيلية المطلوبة في الأصول والمرافق الحكومية، وعملنا على تقديم ما يدعمها من ممكنات التحول، بالإضافة إلى الدليل الوطني لإدارة الأصول والمرافق مثل تسجيل الأصول وتفعيل النظام المحوسب. ودعمنا جهود الجهات الحكومية لتطبيق الممارسات التشغيلية المثلى مثل الصيانة التشاركية والقياس والاستدامة. وترجمة لما توليه حكومة خادم الحرمين الشريفين من ثقة بأبنائها وقدراتهم، شاركنا في تفعيل مبادرة توطين عقود التشغيل والصيانة في الجهات الحكومية، والهادفة إلى دعم رواد الأعمال وتمكين الشباب من الحصول على فرص وظيفية نوعية في قطاع التشغيل والصيانة، وتمكينهم من بناء الخبرات وتطوير المعرفة التشغيلية والتقنية. وانطلاقاً من هذه المنهجية المتكاملة في مجال إدارة المشاريع الحكومية وتشغيلها، عملت الجهات الحكومية ولم تدخر جهداً لتحقيق التميز التشغيلي في إدارة المشاريع والأصول والمرافق الحكومية. وأثبتت هذه المنهجية بفضل الله سبحانه وتعالى أولاً، ثم جهود الجهات الحكومية الأثر المالي، فاعليتها من خلال الأثر المالي والزمني الذي تم تسجيله منذ انطلاق هذه الرحلة. فمن خلال العمل المشترك على 31 مشروع هاماً ذو أولوية وطنية تبلغ قيمة عقودها 38 مليار مع 11 جهة حكومية من الجهات ذات المحافظ الأكبر من ناحية المشاريع، تمكنت هذه الجهات الحكومية من تحقيق أثر مالي لهذه المشاريع يزيد عن 20%، وأسهم بسرعة وصول الخدمة للمواطن بما يزيد عن 6000 يوم. كما أننا نواصل العمل مع 5 إمارات مناطق في المملكة على تفعيل وحدات متابعة المشاريع التنموية في هذه المناطق ومساندتها لإنجاز مشاريعها الحيوية التي تخدم هذه المناطق وأهلها. وبفضل من الله أسفرت الجهود في مجال التشغيل والصيانة عن تمكين 22 جهة حكومية يبلغ حجم محافظها للتشغيل والصيانة 74 مليار ريال، بالإضافة إلى توطين أكثر من 90,000 وظيفة على عقود التشغيل والصيانة التابعة للأصول والمرافق الحكومية، بالإضافة إلى تواصل أعمال التدريب والتطوير والمواءمة على تبني أفضل الممارسات المحلية والعالمية التي توافق مع التميز التشغيلي في التشغيل والصيانة. واليوم بفضل الله سبحانه وتعالى ثم جهود كافة الجهات الحكومية، يحق لنا كمواطنين في هذه البلاد العظيمة أن نفخر بما وصلت إليه المشاريع الحكومية في بلادنا وجودتها وكفاءة التشغيل التي تقف وراء تسريع وصولها إلى المواطنين في كافة أرجاء المملكة. لكن طريقنا طويل، وفرص التحسين والكفاءة ممتدة أمامنا بقدر طموحنا إلى رؤية بلادنا، وهي تقود العالم نحو تميز شامل في كل المستويات. وهنا يأتي دورنا ودور الشباب والشابات في هذه القاعة، فلدينا المعرفة والتمكين والطموح، ونحن قادرون بإذن الله تعالى على تحقيق رؤية قيادتنا الرشيدة وفقها الله وطموحات شعبنا. وفقنا الله وإياكم لكل خير، وأسأل الله لنا ولكم التوفيق والسداد، وأن يجعل عملنا وعملكم خالصاً لوجهه الكريم وصدقة جارية عنا وعنكم ووالدينا والمسلمين. شكراً لكم، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
مرحبا فيكم. إن شاء الله ما نكون قاعدين نطول عليكم. أنا جاي لكم من البداية، نبغى صبركم وحلمكم معنا. هذا كان تعريف بسيط وفيديو بسيط عن الجلسة الأولى ومتحدثينها. طيب، الجلسة راح تكون بعنوان التميز التشغيلي في قطاع المياه. لكن السؤال، من هو مدير هذه الجلسة؟ سيدير هذه الجلسة إنسان حاصل على شهادة جامعية في السياسة والاقتصاد من جامعة أكسفورد. حصل عليها بعد تدريبه كصحفي، يعني زميل لنا في المهنة، وعمل حتى في مجال الخدمات المصرفية الاستثمارية، وهو أيضاً المؤسس والرئيس لGWI في عام 2002، وهو المصدر الرئيسي للمعلومات والتحليلات حول صناعة المياه العالمية مع مكاتب في أكسفورد وأوستن في تكساس وشنغهاي. رحبوا معي بمدير الجلسة السيد كريستوفر جيسون. Jason, you can start.
Hi. Okay, so can we have the other speakers up to the front? I think I might actually run this session here so I can see them better, if that's all right by everyone. So while they sit down, I'll just introduce the session. So this session we're talking about operational excellence in water, and we're the first main session of the conference, which gives us the opportunity to define what we mean by operational excellence. There are many different approaches to this. I think in essence, it is about consistent and reliable operations with lower cost, lower risk, and ideally higher revenue. But there are many different approaches to this. Some people focus very much on this idea of eliminating the errors, i.e. consistency. And we talk about Six Sigma operations which have sort of Six Sigma, let's say 0.001% error rate in their operations. And the idea is that each error has a magnified impact on operational costs and consistency. And so by eliminating the errors, you're getting operational excellence. Other people talk about lean and doing things with the lowest possible operating costs. Other people focus on the operational risks and then sort of build out from the operational risks to think about environmental risks and health and safety risks and so forth. And other people see it as a driver for innovation. And we're going to, in this session, look at it from the water perspective. Now, there are two reasons why the water perspective might not be the most obvious approach. I mean, the first is that water is probably the highest capex industry in the world. For every $1 of revenue in water globally, you need about $8 of capital expenditure. So it's incredibly capital intensive compared to its operating expenses. But that, in some ways, puts an additional responsibility on it to operate all that capital effectively. The other aspect of water which makes it special from an operational excellence point of view is the fact that it is a natural monopoly. That is to say, there is no competitor who is going to force you to be better in the same way that there would be if you were running a shop or in a manufacturing business, which is easy to enter the market. So we have those two things counting against us in water, but we also have the fact that water as an operation is just more essential than any other business that you might be in. It is 60% of our bodies, and if we forget 60% of our lives, if we forget water and water operations. So that is the context of this. Now, what I was going to do in this session is first to ask the speakers to introduce themselves and their organization and explain what operational excellence means to them. So I'm going to start with Mamdouh Al-Shuaibi, who is the Assistant Governor for Institutional Transformation at the Saline Water Conversion Corporation. I think you've been there for 19 years. And so what does operational excellence mean for you? And I guess, given that SWEC is the main sponsor of this conference, you better have a very good answer.
Thank you, Christopher. I think with you, Mamdouh Al-Shuaibi, the Assistant Governor for Institutional Transformation. As you know, SWEC is the largest producer in the world. We produce 5.9 million cubic meter per day. We have more 32 plant distribution in the eastern and western region, and other new plant we under execution. For operational excellence, and to answer your question, all organizations now looking for continuous improvement, Mr. Gusto. This improvement in process or product or service will be not enough. You need to be grow for this improvement. So the operational excellence is the way to lead you to growing and for your product or service, and to be customer satisfying and to be more sustainable.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what are your sort of key performance indicators for that?
Sorry?
The key KPIs. What KPIs would you apply to this?
For our KPI in SWIC, I think we have a lot of KPI about reliability, about customer satisfaction. You know, other partner here in this session work with Woodco and National Water Company. They will share us for this one. We have a lot of KPI about operational excellence, about for our plants, and about reliability, about for availability for our plants, for that's one distributed in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Okay, right. So shall we move down the supply chain to WETCO, where we're very lucky to have Dr. Tariq Al-Naim here, who doesn't come from the water industry. He comes from the financial services industry, and he's recently taking over at WETCO. And I guess you have a sort of, a double perspective on this, both, as a financial services person and as now a water person. So what does operational excellence mean for your organization?
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everyone. So basically, my name is Tariq Al-Naim. I'm the CEO of WETCO, Water Transmission and Technologies Company. First of all, if you allow me just to give a brief of what WETCO mandate is. So basically, the mandate is threefold today. We have a core mandate and a couple of secondary mandates. The core mandate is primarily related to the development, funding, procurement, as well as operation of water transmission systems in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Today, we operate a network of 7 transmission systems with a total length exceeding 8,000 kilometers and transmitting quantities around 7 million cubic meter a day. The other secondary, I would say, mandates are twofold: the commercialization and localization of water technologies, and the last one is the development of national competencies and talents within the water sector. For us at WETCO, or at the transmission kind of sector, operational excellence is a function of 3 parameters, I would say. First parameter is reliability. So it is basically how to ensure the continuous and uninterrupted supply of water as per the agreed upon quantities. Second one is quality, which is basically maintaining the level of water qualities transmitted as per the specifications set and agreed upon. And the third parameter, I would say, is operational or cost efficiency, which actually means how to meet the first 2 parameters, which is reliability and quality, and deliver them yet at the most efficient or cost-effective way possible. So that in my view, are the, I would say, the key 3 parameters, if you like, or KPIs or metrics that we look after.
I see. And how do you feel it's different from your life in the financial services sector?
Well, I guess, of course, from operational point of view, it's quite a different world, I would say. Nevertheless, all sectors, at the end of the day, they would require funding. They would require some sort of financial sustainability aspects around them to ensure that the sector would be self-sufficient and to ensure that the sector would be able to grow alongside with the growth expected for the water sector at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Okay, no, that's great. I should just say, given that we're talking about operational excellence here, we do have a big problem with echo. And I'm sure you people at the back can hear us perfectly, but the echo is coming back to us and we can barely hear ourselves. So if the conversation is a little stilted, you'll have to blame the lack of operational excellence in the acoustics of this room. I'm very sorry about that. Okay, so Abdullah Albishi from the National Water Company. Again, you've been there for 4 years. You came in from another industry responsible for operations. So what does operational excellence mean for you?
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everybody. Yes, I have been working with Saudi Electricity Company for 24 years, all in operations. And then I moved to National Water Company as VP for customer care. Recently, in the last 2 months, I was appointed to be VP of operations. For us in WC, we consider the operational excellence to be a strategic enabler. When it comes to our mission, when it comes to our vision, it is to provide sustainable, quality water services across the kingdom. And that vision started from National Water Strategy 2030 that descended from Vision 2030. In our strategy, we have 4 strategic objectives: customer centricity, environmental protection, and we have financial sustainability. And under that, we have strategic initiatives gathered around operational excellency. So operational excellency for us is an enabler to reach to our vision.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what did you learn from your previous career? I can't remember what you were doing before this.
Well, both experiences are, I would say they look alike. They're all utility, infrastructure, critical services. Mm-hmm. They are very similar in nature. Challenges are different from here and there. Maturity is different from electricity and water, but by the end of the day, the measures are the same across when it comes to maintaining the network, maintaining the assets, maintaining the service, to ensure by the end of the day that the customer receive the service at the right quality that he deserves.
Mm-hmm. And I guess we've got this session on energy coming next. So can you say, do you think that water is better at, or the National Water Company is better at operational excellency than the electricity sector in this country?
Well, you're trying to put me in trouble with my old friends. But I would say both companies are in a different maturity level when it comes to operational excellency. Looking to SEC, where they made the merger for the whole country in the year 2000, and they went through improving in a transformational journey to improve their operational excellency as one end, and comparing that with NWC that just finished the merger of whole sector just last year, and we are in the journey of improving our operational excellency. I think it's not fair to compare.
Okay, that's great. So let's move on now to Jorge Salas. He has recently set up this company, IWAC, but he before that worked for Abengoa, which was once a great company and has been brought down by sort of financial difficulties. And it'd be interesting to sort of hear what your definition of operational excellence is.
Thank you, Christopher. I hope you all can hear me well. Here the echo is quite terrible, so I'm not sure if I understood everything you said to me. You asked me about operational excellence.
Sure.
What's my interpretation of it, right? I took some notes here that I think might help. To me, an organization reaches operational excellence when it is fully aligned. Somehow there is a cultural alignment to make sure that the assets or the series of assets that it operates serves for the purpose that it was meant. Is that enough to reach operational excellence? I would say no. It could be when it is trying to enhance the performance as it was expected, when it is continuously challenging the way that this organization does things to operate this asset, when it is reaching, or at least it is in the way to reach operational excellence, according to my opinion. It has to gather all the stakeholders volunteer to bring this asset or the series of assets to that state of performance. So in my opinion, there has to be a win-win approach between all the stakeholders surrounding the operation of these assets. It has to be a kind of an incentive approach rather than a penalty approach in the operation of these assets. I would like to recall also the importance of research and development, especially in the operation of the assets. All the data, all the benefits, potential optimization, but also all the mistakes are known when operating an asset. It's where the R&D has to take place and make sense. In my opinion, organizations operating assets has to simplify the targets. It has to have very simple targets, very clear, and make them comprehensive to the whole organization. I say that one target at a time with many surrounding constraints, trying to keep a minimum level of performance in the rest of the indicators. But at a time, you had to align your organization for one or two simple targets. Key metrics, you asked before, safety, above all, security, I would say, especially when we are talking about the strategic asset as water is, and especially in these times where we are seeing that geopolitically, when there is problems, the strategic and the key resources are put in risk. So we had to look at safety and security, of course reliability, we had to serve quality, sustainability, and when I say sustainability, I'm talking about environmental sustainability, but also economically sustainable, and as I said, optimizing continuously the performance of the asset. I know it was a very long answer, but I hope that somehow it brought some ideas to what operational excellence can mean.
Okay, and do you feel that there's a sort of conflict between these different values? I mean, and you know, do you see that playing out? I mean, you're saying that you know, one has to have this sort of much broader view of excellence to include sort of sustainability and stakeholders and so forth. You know, do you feel that you know, ultimately you've got all these different sort of values playing out against each other, and you know, it's incredibly difficult to keep them all together? I mean, can you serve so many different masters? It's very easy when you're in an organization to be doing one thing, but doing lots of different things because you're, you know, trying to keep all the stakeholders happy, be sustainable, be sort of safe and so forth. I mean, do you feel there's a conflict there, or what?
Well, I'm not sure if I got your question.
I mean, I'm sorry, I shouldn't ask a long question when
they,
you got such a terrible echo. Maybe, don't worry, we'll move on to Borja Blanco. So, Borja has, I mean, in his youth, he worked for an operating company which did Caribbean desalination plants, and then he moved on to work for probably the most successful desalination technology company in the world, ERI, which does the energy recovery devices, which completely sort of revolutionized operational efficiency in desalination in the sort of 2000s. And now he works as a consultant with AquaDvise. So what's your concept of operational excellence?
Thank you, Christopher. Yeah, my name is Borja Blanco, and I'm the CEO of AquaDvise, which is a boutique consulting company for the desalination in the water industry, but particularly desalination. I'm also a board member of IDA, the International Desalination Association, and I've been 25 plus years in the water desalination market. So I'm old enough to have seen thermal desalination being built in the Gulf area because pretreatment wasn't sophisticated enough. We were only doing membranes on the Red Sea, and we changed that by developing significantly the pretreatment capacity. I've seen plants without energy recovery devices built in the kingdom 35 years ago, and then change into the most sophisticated pressure changer technology. And I've seen models, business models changing from pure EPC to BOT. And I think all of those examples are driving towards operational excellence. To me, operational excellence is, in a way, a state of mind. It's a way you drive your own business from the top and flows down to everybody. To me, operational excellence is providing value to your customers. Your customers are the ones watching what you do. But keep in mind that there's plenty of customers out there. Your boss is a customer. The people at large out there in the kingdom are definitely your customers. But there is the Ministry of Finance trying to say that your plan should be, your tariffs should be a little bit lower, and we probably will have a little bit to talk about tariff pushing and improvement and all of that, how that in desalination sometimes has a little bit of a fine line. You have the regulators, you have the environmental regulator also looking at what you do. So all of them are customers. And I think when you satisfy and provide value to all of those customers, including your boss, including the ministries, including the finance ministry, and including the people out there, that's when you're driving towards operational excellence. But in my opinion, it's a state of mind. It's something that's driven from above. And obviously the Vision 2030 is another customer. You need to drive towards innovation and technology and localization and many of those aspects that are also in line with operational excellence.
Okay, thank you. I'm just wondering, talk to the exhibition organizers, because this event is simply not going to work if we can't hear ourselves. And unfortunately, the echo is so bad up here that you've organized a conference which is all panel discussions, and the panels can't hear what each other are saying. So please, can somebody from Exicon do something about the acoustics, because otherwise it's going to be rather a dead conference. Anyway, I mean, as I say, one of the things you were mentioning sort of beforehand was this question of honesty, and honesty being at the center of this, in that you can't improve your performance, you can't strive for excellence unless you are honest about your current performance. Would you like to say something about that?
Yeah, to me, operational excellence is also about embracing quality and transparency. And transparency, what I was commenting with Christopher this morning and at breakfast is, we saw for decades that when we're looking at thermal technology and when we're comparing with energy consumption for membranes, we were told for years that thermal desalination was only using maybe 7 or 0.7 kilowatt hours per cubic meter, because they were only counting electrical energy. They were saying that the rest of the energy was waste energy. They call it waste energy for decades. So when somebody came up with a technology that was only 3 kilowatt hours per cubic meter compared to 7, they were saying, no, it's only 1, because I'm only counting electrical energy. This is one example of how we need to be truthful to ourselves to drive towards operational excellence. A more recent example is when we build a membrane desalination plant today. I've heard just a week ago that we have 2.5 kilowatt hours per cubic meter in Jubail, where salinity is very high. You know that energy is a factor of salinity, temperature, and then the quality of water, the membranes that we use. There's a trade-off between energy and quality. So I was a bit surprised to hear that 2.5 kilowatt hours, which is wonderful, was achieved in Jubail. And the reason is because they have solar panels. And they say that solar panels is free energy. It is not free energy. We have to build the solar panels, we have to generate energy. And yes, it's cheaper if we can make it work right. But let's count it, because if somebody shows up with a 2 kilowatt hours per cubic meter and you're saying I do 2.5, you're not going to be impressed. But it's impressive. You could also apply solar panels to that 2 kilowatt hours per cubic meter and be 1.3 if you count it that way. So to me it's important to say exactly the reality and not make a nicer story that we believe the nicest story, because then we're gonna prevent innovation and drive towards excellence.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. So I thought now we'd sort of move on to talk a bit about these challenges involved in operational excellence, and what do you see as the main challenges at SWEC, Mamdouh?
Yeah, I think from water strategy now, the challenges in water sector, this will be the limitation of the groundwater and the increasing demand for water from different area. This will increase the dependency on the water desalination. Now, or today, 70% of drinking water coming from the desalination. This will we need to increase our improvement, needs to reduce our cost on desalination cost for this process to be sustainable and to be, for example, now, SWIC, finally we get award from Guinness. They reduce the energy consumption from until 2.2 kilowatt hour per cubic meter. This one means one other things talk about how to increase our to be sustainable, to increase our operational excellence now. So the challenge will be, I think, now for how to increase our sustainability in the desalination water, because now the dependency on this desalinating in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will be the most challenge for this one. I think we work with our partner, WITCO and NWC and other partners from the contractor and consulting to move this journey to success journey with water strategy.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, institutionally, what do you see as the challenges? I mean, Borja just mentioned this sort of problem of, needing to be very honest at the same time as, communicating how good you are. And this, it's difficult, when you have, let's say the Vision 2030, and you need to show that you're good, but you don't want to say, well, actually, this doesn't work. This is really rubbish. This, we are currently not good. I mean, is that a problem that you feel that you have? I mean, in terms of if you are responsible for transformation, you need to sort of be able to own up to and identify where you're weak.
Really, in SWIC now we are in process transformation. Really, for example, when we transfer from thermal technology to reverse osmosis technology, this means full transformation for this technology. By this transformation, we reduce the emission up to 34 million ton from carbon emission, and we will be more friendly for environment. I think when we getting consumption energy up to 2.2, this award is recorded by Guinness as a third party. We will be more efficient. I think we will get one award from ZLD technology to be optimize the brine coming from our desalination. This to be more optimal and will be honest for this one. I think in SWIC we moving and to transformation. We related with National Transformation Program for many initiatives and the new project also already built it in with the Expo, with the National Center. I think our journey with our partner is still moving. We still is under improving process to be more sustainable.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I just remember, maybe 20 years ago, Vahid Al-Sharif was appointed governor of SWEC with a brief to, transform the organization for privatization and so forth. And it's only now, really, with the current governor that we're seeing any real change. Why do you think the institution of SWEC was so resistant to change for so many years, and now it's all happening? What was the obstacle?
No, the change depends about the decision coming from the higher authority. After that, SWIC, the transformation now for SWIC, I hope will be global company, is the decision. This global company will be as a leading company in the world. We are the leading company as a producer. We will be, our target now, we will be as a leading in industrial or desalination industrial. I think we have a lot of enablers. For example, we have research center and development center. This get many awards to be as a research, international research now. We established the invest about its engineer and its expert to get a lot of innovation about transformation, about digital transformation, about artificial intelligence. I think in the right way now.
Okay. No, as I say, at the moment it seems that things are really firing, and that that everyone is marching together to change in SWEC. Whereas in the past, one has felt that there has been a lot of resistance from within the organization to any change. It's a very large organization with a lot of, you look after all your staff in a very deep way. You have clinics and schools and sports facilities, and there's such an institution that changing that institution seems to be a very big challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. We will be changed. Everything will be changed. Everything, for example, now we are applying shared service concept now for every entity inside SWIC. I think one of the leading company entering from SWIC is our colleagues in WITCO. I think the privatization, about commercial way in SWIC, they in the right way. Now this for moving for transformation, about not talking about resistance, we're talking about right transformation in the right way to be as a global company and leading for water industry, water desalination industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, shall we move on to Dr. Tariq? Tell me, what do you see as the challenges that your organization faces in terms of delivering operational excellence?
Sure. Thank you, Chris. So basically, I'll start with the macro level, and then at the water sector, and then try to link it from micro level at WITCO level. So what I see at the sector, water sector at large, I think the key strategic challenge is how to create a financially sustainable and self-sufficient water sector that would basically meet the growing water demands at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And this is what basically this ambitious national initiative, which is the water balancing account, is really trying to achieve. So for us at WITCO, to basically support this, we're working towards addressing three key challenges, if you like. First one is cost efficiency and operational efficiency. And second one is funding flexibility. And third one is having a viable and strong balance sheet. On the first point, which is the cost efficiency, we're trying to basically end up with initiatives that would help really achieve cost efficiencies across the entire network of the transmission lines we operate today. And to this end, we have launched a program which is comprised of three different sub-initiatives, if you like. First one is basically initiatives related to reducing the power consumption. Second group of initiatives are related to manpower optimization. And third is related to supply chain optimization initiatives. That's on the operational efficiency and cost efficiency side. On the funding flexibility, I think the whole goal and objective is basically how to support new projects and the implementation and construction of new projects by securing funding from alternative funding venues, if you like, or funding channels. And by that I mean tapping into the capital market, for instance, through the issuance of sukuk, debt, bonds, what have you, or capital raising in one way or another, going for an IPO, etc. Second is efficiently and effectively accessing the credit market, borrowing from commercial banks, or basically borrowing from state-owned funds, SIDF, National Infrastructure Fund, National Development Fund, etc. And the third point is, or venue, sorry, is private placement, whereby potential strategic investors would participate in strategic transmission projects. The third point is related to how do we really end up with a viable balance sheet with strong asset base for WITCO that would really enable it to achieve a competitive credit rating. This ultimately should help minimize the dependence, I would say, on the government to provide funding support or credit guarantees, if you like, for private sector projects. So these, I think, the three key elements, I would say, or challenges that we would really need to focus on going forward.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, of those things, I mean, obviously, two of them are quite new for WETCO, i.e., you know, the financial efficiency and the strengthening of the balance sheet and so forth. But the sort of operational sort of efficiency side, I mean,
sure.
Are you finding that sort of resistance to this within the organization? You know, some outsider from the private sector coming in and telling these public employees that they've got to change? I mean, how are you dealing with that?
No, to the contrary, to be honest. I mean, I was really surprised with the enthusiasm of the different team members who really got the whole point of why WITCO was established in the first place. At the end of the day, WITCO is one element amongst the different sector entities within the water sector. All of those entities should be well aligned together since at the end of the day, we have one ultimate goal and objective is to provide water to the end beneficiaries at a certain cost or an affordable rate levels. So for us to achieve that, we all need to be aligned, we all need to be efficient. I think we really have an amazing team at WITCO, and we're all working together towards achieving that on the cost efficiency side and initiatives.
Okay, right, so let's move on to the NWC and Abdullah. I mean, I guess that, you know, in terms of the public in Saudi Arabia, you know, the only piece of operational excellence that matters is having bills which are correct and are not too high. You know, that has proved in the past a big challenge, but you know, you've managed to get on top of it. What do you see as the big challenges for operational efficiency in the National Water Company?
Well, Christopher, let me start by saying challenges are good. I mean, I cannot imagine a job without a challenge. That would be boring. Well, let me take you within NWC itself, what NWC is responsible for. Today, yes, we receive 70% of the water from SWIC or third party or private sector, and 30% is being produced by NWC through 370 treatment plant. That 10 million being distributed across 126,000 kilometers of network to reach to our customers. And we distribute to the network only 92%. And the remaining 8% is being distributed through tankers. So to distribute through the tankers, you need to have filling stations. So I have 355 filling stations and more than 10,000 water tankers to distribute the 8%. They, in average, they do a 35,000 trips every day to the customers. And then we collect around 5 million cubic meters a day from sewage water. We do treatment through 133 treatment plants, and then we send it to areas where it can be reused. So it is a big value chain comprised of water generation or production, semi-transmission, distribution, collection, and TSA. Add the recent integration of all the clusters, As His Excellency yesterday was saying, we used to manage the whole sector through 14 entities, and now we have one, NWC. So when we merge the sector, we have different specifications, different contracts, different systems, well, different people, sort of, and even different geography, and even different customer expectation. So that's my world where I manage every day, trying to implement the initiative that we have in our strategy to fulfill the objective of sustainable quality water services across the kingdom.
Yeah.
That's only a bit of what we face today. When regarding the billing, as you alluded to, I think it's a challenge that we have finished, I would say, in the last 5 years. We started with a very low billing KPIs. We have around 2 million customers. In the year 2016, we were issuing every year around 2.25 million bill only, whereas we need to issue around 24 million bill. Well, last year we were able to issue 24 million bill, almost 1 bill per month for every customer. So that story, I would say, a chapter has been closed, and now we're very focused toward improving the field activities to ensure that the water reach with the right quality to our customers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the points you made yesterday when we were talking was the need for sort of governance being introduced in the tanker operation. That if you're going to have operational excellence in that area, you need to have the right sort of structure around it to deliver that. Would you like to say a little bit more about that?
Yes, when it comes to water sector, it's the network is monopoly, but in tanker it's not. We have NWC, we have private sector also working in that area. And to ensure that the water reached to the customers at the right quality, governance need to be there around this market. So we worked with our ministry and the water regulator to put a complete framework to ensure that the water that reached, regardless if it's coming from NWC or coming from private sector, is at the right quality. Other part of the governance also when it comes to sewage tankers, also we have sewage tankers in the kingdom. NWC is not part of that market. We just started this end of last year to enter this market, and we created a governance model how we can also ensure that the service being provided to the customers in the correct and in the right service level. Today, we started having the sewage treatment plan, sewage treatment tanker. No, sorry, we have launched the service of sewage collection through tankers in Jeddah, the end of last year, and that model will be rolled out across the kingdom, and NWC will also be part of wastewater tankers.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking, you know, you're talking about how sort of regulation can improve that end of the business. I suppose that we will see the introduction of a new water regulator to regulate the entire sector, including the National Water Company. Do you think that that will be a big driver of operational excellence?
Absolutely. The water regulator already started, and the first, at the beginning of 2021. Today, or I'd say historically, MIWA or the ministry was the regulator somehow. And now we have a water regulator who is responsible about all the regulations. So the first thing that the water regulator did is the water service manual that was published last year, and also escalated complaints. Water regulator today have a platform where if the customer is not satisfied with NWC services, he can go and complain, and the water regulator will go analyze the complaint and deal with it. Water regulator also issued recently the regulation about quality, water quality, and the sampling, how to collect the water quality. Today, I think we are in a better shape where the regulator add the missing part to ensure that the value chain is working correctly. As His Excellency the Minister yesterday said, the regulator is monitoring the whole value chain with 90 regulatory KPIs.
Oh, wow. Okay. Right. So, Jorge, do you want to have sort of your view of the sort of challenges? I mean, both, you know, from what you see of this sort of Saudi water sector, but also I'd be interested in, you know, your experience at Abengoa. I mean, obviously a company which fails so spectacularly must have done something wrong in terms of their operational excellence, even if it was just trusting the Spanish government to pay.
Well, from my experience, my perspective, I say that what I see is that there is a recognition that there is a transition, precisely the water sector here in the kingdom, especially that we are in a particularly interesting moment where there is that transition. Also contractually, we've seen that the existence of PPP schemes is more abundant in the market. So I would say that from my perspective, what we need is a proper risk allocation of all the challenges that are faced now by the water industry here. It cannot be that it is on the operator's shoulders or on the contractor's shoulders that bears all the load of the risks of the performance of the assets. It was mentioned the role of a regulator, and probably that figure can help precisely to bring some sense on this regard to this market. Technically or technologically, I say that the challenges are also responding to the new trends. We are seeing that water reuse schemes or more complex schemes, as we've seen in Red Sea development, where a multi-utility project was brought so that the contractor has to respond to different scenarios, bringing synergies between different utilities for an area, for example. So the private sector has to respond to that demand, and that's very interesting to me. Co-location of facilities. We are seeing also in NEOM that there are some ideas about taking advantage and use of the brine of desalination, so that low carbon solution for the water sector that is being demanded here. There are many things so interesting that the industry has to respond, and at this time it seems to be the right moment to do so. So risk allocation and challenging moments to respond to all this. Finally, I would like to say that Vision 2030, in my opinion, takes more sense even now with all these challenges. And I think by bringing national companies to become a national champion in water is now the moment, and it has to be a bet to undertake now. So combining the international and all accumulated experience already here in the kingdom in the water sector to give birth to national champions that we are seeing through all these transformations is the right moment to do so, and it really takes more sense now than ever.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right. Borja, do you have anything to say on the sort of challenge side of things?
To me, the big challenge out there is population growth. We're going to be 9 billion people on this planet in 2030. This country is growing by 1 million people every year. And with challenge comes opportunity. Obviously, this is the market for desalination in the world, largest market. There's a tremendous amount of expertise, competence, and knowledge about how to operate a plant. In my opinion, operational excellence in diesel starts with the drawing board in the design of the plant. So I think that there's got to be some connection between the experience that SWCC has in operating plants, connecting to the design of those future plants or the plants that we're building today, because that's where you start building operational excellence. It's not very possible that you operating a plant are going to make energy consumption much better if you don't design for it from the beginning. So there's things like that you need to kind of connect the expertise and experience that has been built here for 30, 40 years to the design board, and that is happening somehow in the PPP. That's another concept. Sometimes we are looking at capex and lowering capex for a desalination plant there's a limit. A cheap desalination plant, and we've seen it in the world, becomes expensive over time. We need to use the right materials, we need to have the right design, we need to think about life cycle costing, because this is a 25-year asset. So investing a little bit more upfront will pay over time. And this is something that we're seeing naturally in the PPP concepts, but it has to be in the mentality of anybody buying a plant as opposed to buying water. When you buy water from somebody, that somebody hopefully thinks about life cycle costing. We've seen a few contractors out there that come from Singapore or Korea that made a mess because they tried to be too cheap in terms of capex. So we have to keep that in mind, and I think that experience and competence is here in the kingdom. So to me, challenges are connecting operational expertise with design, obviously population growth, but that brings economies of scale, that brings a big market, a competitive market, and competition brings prices down and makes everything more, I guess, more palatable for everybody. So challenges are good in a way. I think that brings innovation and it brings creativity, and it's happening here. This is the epicenter of desalination in the world, and you should be driving the next step of operational excellence.
I think Jorge might have something to say about that, because he's been on the sharp end of this prices being driven down, and these within the context of the IWP model. And yes, the IWP model does give you the lowest life cycle cost for the period of the contract, but I think your point is that it doesn't express all of the risks. Do you want to say something on that?
I would say that bringing prices down only on the capex has been an opportunity when shifting to the PPP model to prove probably that there were things to get improved. But there is a limit, and Borja said very well. Everything has a cost. If you sacrifice at the capex, probably you will be paying that off when you're operating the assets. So looking at the whole life cycle model is the right way to do things, allocating the risks. I mean, during construction, for example, all the changes in the inflation that we are seeing now, I was wondering how EPC contractors are going to handle with the contracts at a fixed lump sum price at this moment, for example. So there is a need to revisit from time to time all those risks and see how they can be somehow shared among the right stakeholder. We are seeing that companies now tend to say, I'm not interested in the EPC contract. They are saying, I'm only interested in the EPC contract if I'm granted the operation and maintenance of the asset during a long period of time, because in a short time that the construction take, any mistake is very well paid, probably much more than they deserve. And they are trying to get a more stable scenario, longer scenario, where they can optimize a long time and get a, let's say, relatively well-balanced contract, interesting for all parties. We had to think of how we reach to this situation where some companies are running away of the EPC contracts. What are the conditions that drove them to say, I'm only interested in a longer time to recover of that suffering, you know?
Yes, okay, absolutely. I think we should sort of move on to our third topic, which is technology. And maybe for this one, we'll start with Borja, because he's been working with an extremely interesting technology company called Ra'aiyah, which is almost completely automated. Would you like to explain the concept and say why you think this is what contribution to operational excellence that this can make?
Yeah, here's another example of challenges bringing opportunity. Ra'aiyah is a concept that takes the desalination plant to this bottom of the sea. We're using oil and gas technology. There's hundreds of installations out there producing and extracting fluids from the bottom of the sea, because that's where the resources are. And there's been a lot of development in terms of motors, electrical motors, umbilical cables, valves and pumps and control systems that work at the bottom of the sea. We're combining that with the existing desalination, membrane desalination technology to put that plant at approximately 400 meters depth. And what you find is two things: very high quality water, because you're far away from biological, organic content, contaminations that are typical to coastal and superficial waters. 90% of marine life lives in the first 200 meters of the seas and the ocean, and this is far below that. And the second thing that is even more important is pressure. You have hydrostatic pressure. The ocean, the column of the water provides pressure to all of your pre-membrane needs. So all you need to do is pump the permeate to shore. Now the challenge is this is not reachable for operations. So the design has to be done in a way similar to oil and gas design and operations, which Aramco knows extremely well. It has to be done in a way that it doesn't require maintenance, or it requires very little maintenance. So the design is being done so that there's one intervention every 12 months. The plant runs by itself. And this is where we talk a little bit about automation, about data collection, about data-driven management, which can be applied not just to this subsea desalination opportunity, but everything we do. I think we're lacking a little bit in the water industry because we're not, I guess we don't have as much resources as other industries. We're a little bit behind in terms of automation, data-driven management, business intelligence connected to data, and artificial intelligence, which I guess we will be talking a little bit about that.
Yeah. Okay. Mamdouh, do you have anything to say about the sort of technology and artificial intelligence? I mean, I guess you've got some, what do you call it, digital twins going, thanks to Acciona, and where do you see technology taking operational excellence for SWEC?
Absolutely. In SWEC, we are open for new technology, and we have our DITRI center work about some of technology about how to reduce the cost and improve our efficiency. But if we talk another part, talk about digital transformation or artificial intelligence in this technology, new project now or new plants, I think is already applying some technology to help us now to reduce our cost and improve our efficiency. If you talk about predictive maintenance or predictive operational forecasting or intelligent for safety or other technology that's help us to reduce the cost. But my opinion for this one, in SWEC we are opening for any technology new, and we will search it from our DITRI center, and after that we will see how it will be in the commercial side. Now we're looking for how to improve our efficiency during resource osmosis for this process. About the new technology, we are open absolutely for this one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, that's great. What about the WETCO? Are you getting into artificial intelligence and the whole data revolution? Or?
Well, we do believe that this industry is a big data industry, to be honest. So we sit on a massive set of data when it comes to dispatch and operational scenarios or what have you. So applications of big data analytics tools as well as AI applications certainly do have huge potential in this area. And to that end, we do have today a platform which is a joint initiative, still to be launched, but it's a joint initiative with our colleagues at SWEC and NWC, which basically helps streamlining the different activities when it comes to the different coordination that would need to take place between the different entities. That could actually form, or we could look at this as a sort of a data bank, if you like, that we could potentially use for similar applications.
Okay, no, we'll watch out for that. It looks like an exciting future. I mean, I guess that the National Water Company is probably the leading company in the world in terms of smart metering. So would you like to say something about how that is sort of transforming your operations?
Well, the smart meter is an interesting experience, actually. Not a lot of water company changed the meter from mechanical to digital meters, but we went into that endeavor. And I can point some of the impact that happened to our customers. So accurate read, on time. We overcome the difficulty that we had before with the metering. Today we unlock some of the value of that smart meters to the customers by sending notification about the time when we read. The customer wants to know if there is any noticeable increase in the consumption, then the customer get notified. We already have the impact already carried into the operation, so our team validate and check that there is water supply before going to the site and taking action to the site to optimize the cost. And in the future, with the more integration of different platform and big data management, we will be giving more services to our customer and more impact to our operation. So it's a journey that we are going through.
Okay, no, that's interesting. So Jorge, do you have anything to add on this side of things? I mean,
I'd like to add that we are talking about operational excellence, and digitalization, a smart system integrated in the asset definitely can help to reach the operational excellence. We have our plants, our pipelines full of sensors. Those sensors are gathering data online every second, thousands of data. There's no human brain able to cope with all that data. We need the help and support of information technologies, whatever we want to call it, precisely to digest all data. It is very important to make sure that we are not taking decisions based on the wrong data. So the first step to me in a smart water system, in artificial intelligence applied to water system, is to filter and exclude all those data that can lead to wrong decisions because they are wrong data. So that would be the first step. The second step that probably we will have to take is going step by step, being humble in what we demand to those smart water systems until we integrate the whole assets or the series of assets that we are managing all together in a centralized system. The benefits can be huge. We have homogenized operation of all the assets. We can have shared facilities to serve all the assets together, reduction in the commodities that our assets are using, in the chemicals, in the power, and so on. But all that has to be done very carefully, because when we are centralizing and gathering all the data together, we are also opening probably a crack in the security of a strategic system. So we had to be very cautious and try to implement that step by step in a very wise manner. As Borja said from the very beginning, when we are doing the engineering of the system, during the construction, gathering all the data of the design during the construction, so they are at the service of the operators at the time that the plan is transferred for operation, for example. So it has to be very cautiously, I would say, and in a very wise manner. To me, the use of artificial intelligence is when you lead the machines to take some decisions that are normally left to human intelligence. Well, that's a very picky issue. So we had to be very careful when we decide to let a machine do something that it was traditionally left to human beings. But it can be done. It is a future. It is a way to reach operational excellence for sure. But we have not oversized our expectations in the short term. I would say that it has to be something to be done little by little from the base of the raw data collected until the final targets, but step by step.
Yeah, no, that's right. Okay, right, I think we've got about 2 minutes for questions. Have we got any questions from the audience here? Can we have a microphone?
Good morning. I would like to thank you for the productive information. I have just one question. When can I say the organization has the excellent operation excellence? This one. Second, how we can measure it? How we can measure it? How we can say there is something, there is measurement or an instrument to say that we have this good operation excellence?
I think that's a very good question. I think the answer to that is actually part of the reason why we're having this conference, in that the biggest challenge for determining whether you have operational excellence in water is that there is no competition. You can always tell, that say General Electric are very good at making turbines because they have competition, and you can say they are excellent simply because they are the best in the market. But it's very difficult when you are a public authority with no competition to say that you are excellent without having just key performance indicators which only apply to you. So how would you answer that question, Mamdouh? I mean,
if you allow me, now if we talk about water sector, the water coming as a journey from the producer and the transmission, after that the distribution, there is one also the regulator. The regulator for water sector who is putting the KPI for every entity to lead the operational excellence model to be as operational excellence model as a perfect excellence. This is what happened now. The organization is already done, working. There is some KPI about the producer. If you talk about SWIG or you talk about private sector, also with CO, there is some KPI. Also about NWC, there is some KPI. Who's this KPI aligning together and integrated between together? The operation excellence model for water sector, I think, is related to the organization. For water sector, I think this is the best model what's happening now. So my answer for you, the water sector for transformation in the right way now.
And maybe you could also have an answer to that question from Abdullah, because you've got a lot of KPIs, but how do you tell excellence if you can't really compare them with anything?
Well, I think another way to measure how excellent you are is by benchmarking the companies with different or similar entity in the world or in the region. So when it comes, for example, to customer satisfaction as a measure, we measure ourselves against the utility in the region, in the kingdom, other utility in the kingdom, other utility in the region, and internationally. There you can tell where are you in the across, and if you are at the top quartile, then I presume that you are excellent. And if you are not there, then you need to improve yourself to reach to the excellence level.
Okay, no, that's great. So I think that's all we've got time for this session. Thank you very much to our panel. It's been a sort of fascinating investigation of operational excellence in water. And yes, let's give them a hand. Thank you.
شكرا لكم جميعا، يعطيكم العافية. الآن لابد أن نغتنم هذه الفرصة قبل أن يغادر أو ينزل عن المنصة، أدعو سعادة الأستاذة منال الماضي مدير إدارة الشراكات في المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة لتكريم السادة المتحدثين في هذه الجلسة. أول المكرمين في هذه المناسبة عبدالرزاق العوجان، الرئيس التنفيذي لهيئة كفاءة الإنفاق والمشروعات الحكومية، ويتسلمها عنه الدكتور عبدالله العبد الكريم، المدير التنفيذي لقطاع التمكين في هيئة كفاءة الإنفاق والمشروعات الحكومية. أيضا سيد هورهي سالس أورتا، الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة تطبيقات المياه المبتكرة من إسبانيا. مستر هورهي. أيضا الأستاذ طارق النعيم، الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة نقل وتقنيات المياه بالمملكة. أيضا الأستاذ عبد الله البيشي، نائب الرئيس للتشغيل شركة المياه الوطنية. أيضا معنا الأستاذ ممدوح الشعيبي، مساعد المحافظ للتحول المؤسسي المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة. أيضا السيد بورها بلانكو، الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة أكوا أدفايس سبين. ويجب علينا أيضا أن نكرم المودريتر لهذه الجلسة السيد كريستوفر جيسون، رئيس ومؤسس GWI من المملكة المتحدة. حضورنا الكريم، ندعوكم الآن لاستراحة قصيرة، بعدها نستأنف الجلسة الثانية بعنوان التميز التشغيلي في منشآت الطاقة. شكرا لكم.